The story behind the Tangiwai Shield Cricket Series between New Zealand and South Africa is absolutely heartbreaking.
I couldn't believe what I saw.
Douglas.
But also beautiful and inspirational.
It's a story that young New Zealanders need to know about, and especially people who are interested in cricket.
When the New Zealand cricket team toured South Africa over Christmas in 1953, they couldn't imagine the tragic event that would unfold. A disaster that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. And more than 70 years later is still honoured and respected between these two cricket nations.
Whose lives were changed forever by the events of that night.
The second test in Johannesburg started on the 24th of December. South Africa finished their first innings on 259 for 8 at the end of day 1. And the following day, Christmas Day, was a rest day for the players. But the next morning, all Christmas spirits and festivities were shattered when the New Zealand team manager received a telegram from home. The night before, on Christmas Eve, the worst rail disaster in the history of New Zealand took the lives of 151 passengers.
Tangiwai was caused by a laha, a huge torrent of mud and rubble swept from Mount Ruapehu's Crater Lake and down the Whangahu River, sweeping away the rail bridge. A tie-happy postal clerk tried to stop the train by waving a torch, but the brakes came on too late. All 5 second-class carriages plunged into the river below, the front first-class carriage teetering on the precipice and finally toppling in two.
And one of those passengers was 19-year-old Nerissa Love, the fiancée of none other than Bob Blair, 21-year-old opening bowler of New Zealand.
It was just terrible. They didn't know what to do. He was asleep in bed and the players were outside his room. He was 21 years old. And they knocked on his door knowing that when they went in there, his life was going to change forever.
Christmas was a day of mourning and sorrow, but the New Zealand team informed South Africa that they would like to proceed with the match in honour of the victims. However, Bob Blair will not be joining the team. On the morning of the second day, Bob stayed behind at the hotel as the rest of his teammates continued with the match. News about the rail disaster spread all over the world.
Last night, a most grievous railway accident took place at Tangiwai.
The crowd of 23,000 people were also notified and informed that Bob Blair will no longer take part in the match. The New Zealand batsmen were absolutely crushed by South Africa. Bert Sutcliffe was rushed to the hospital after a brutal bouncer struck him against the head. Shortly after, Laurie Miller was struck against the chest and also taken to the hospital.
2 players ended up in hospital. Laurie Miller had cracked ribs and was coughing blood. As Bert Sutcliffe was being discharged, he arrived. It was like a procession.
Both batsmen, against the doctor's orders, left the hospital to rejoin the match and continue batting, with Sutcliffe's head wrapped in bandages.
New Zealand was 81 for 6. Bert Sutcliffe walked back into the middle, bandages around his head, weeping blood.
Sutcliffe actually stuck around and top scored for New Zealand. But when the 9th wicket eventually fell, with New Zealand 1 batsman short, both batsmen and the South African fielders walked off the field. But in that moment, to everyone's surprise,
Bert Sutcliffe was nearing the players' tunnel and a figure appeared out of the darkness into the sunlight, and it was Bob Blair, padded up, ready to bat.
I can't believe it. Can it be Bob Blair?
Bob was listening to the match on the radio in his hotel room. When he heard how much trouble the team was in and how his teammates were being rushed to the hospital, he grabbed his gear and took a taxi to the field. The crowd, the players, and even his own teammates were stunned into silence and tears.
And the crowd just went silent. I asked Bert Sutcliffe, how quiet was it, Bert? He said, you could have heard a pin drop, son.
As Bob joined Sutcliffe out in the middle, he put his hand on the young man's shoulder.
Bert said to Bob, what are you doing here, boy? Bob said, I just wanted to help. And Bert said, well, let's throw the bat at the ball and get the hell out of here.
What the hell are you doing here? I thought I could help. But I can't see a bloody thing. Just throw the bat at it, Bob. Let's get the hell out of here. Come on.
Sutcliffe stood by his words and smashed spin bowler Hugh Tayfield for 3 massive sixes. When Bob Blair got on strike after they ran a single, he smashed another 6 to score a total of 25 runs in 1 over.
A world record 25 off one Hugh Tailfield over, including 4 sixes, 1 from the bat of Bob himself.
Bob was outstumped shortly after and New Zealand suffered a terrible loss. But the loss back home was much greater than any cricket result.
It was just a moving occasion, a magnificent display of courage. This was the founding story of the relationship between New Zealand and South African cricket. A story that was as much about the South African crowd and players as it was about New Zealand in terms of the compassion and care they provided for our team.
Nerissa posted her last letter to Bob only hours before the crash, which he only received after her death. She wrote how excited she was to marry him once he gets back after the tour, and how proud she was of him. Bob Blair had a very successful career as a cricketer, and also coached cricket all over the world. He visited Nerissa's grave with every opportunity he had. Bob Blair passed away on the 23rd of June 2026, on his 94th birthday. There are many documentaries, a book and a full-length film about this heartbreaking story if you'd like to learn more. What other heartbreaking cricket stories do you remember? And subscribe for more cricket content just like this.